Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel Weekly Newsreel. Your host Bogdan here. I hope that you are all doing great. And guys, without asking you to hit those small buttons below this video, let's jump to the quiz question of this week. It's about fishing rods and it goes like this. So who was the largest exporter of fishing rods in the world in terms of value, of course, in 2021? And the options here are Japan, China or Hong Kong. And guys, the correct answer is China with some $917 million worth of exports. It was followed by Japan with close to $60 million, while Hong Kong was the third largest exporter of fishing rods with some $39 million. And now that you know from where your fishing rod comes from, let's take a look at the Freightos index. And not surprisingly, really, it fell some 4% on week 37, bringing the absolute value to $4,653 with big movers here involving North America West Coast to China sub-index, who basically was up 14%, and North Europe, to North America East Coast sub-index, who was down 13%. As for the main head holes, for the Trans-Pacific ones, we have 9% contraction for the sub-index connecting China to North America West Coast, while the other one, which connects China to North America East Coast, fell just 2%. It's more contained here, maybe because of the congestion level on the East Coast and Gulf ports, which translates into $8,546, of course, if we're to put a dollar value to this relative change. We have here some figures coming from the US CBP, and we see that as of 30th of June this year, the United States imported some $2.5 trillion worth of goods. This is an astonishing figure, if you ask me, for the first 6 months. And I don't know if we were to compare, some 90% of 2021 overall imports were done in the first 6 months of this year. And guys, that's the wrong and huge inventory that the big box retailers in the United States were complaining about 1 or 2 months ago. And I still stick to the idea that the spread between the United States and the crosswise head holes is generated by the lack of discipline coming from the US retailers and importers, whereas, the European ones are more disciplined. Again, it's just my hunch. And speaking of Europe, for the crosswise head holes, things are following basically a similar downward trend, with 3 and 5% drop on the China to North Europe and China to Mediterranean respectively. And my guess is that the worst is still to come, at least for the crossways ones, and I'm impatiently waiting for the news about new building order cancellations coming from the big guys. And remember, it takes just one to start. Anyhow, moving now to the news here, I think that two of the most important ones from last week were about the avoided rail strike in the United States and FedEx shares, which fell 21% on last Friday, as FedEx announced a softness in global volume of shipments. And don't worry, I'm not going to cover more here. I'm not an expert on the stock exchange or, rail transportation for that matter, but for sure it's worth following up in the weeks to come, the ongoing negotiations, as my feeling tells me that this is not the end of the story. And speaking here of, potential stories, I have this one that popped up last week. It's coming from specialties47.com. And basically it covers the potential wave of complaints coming from frustrated BCOs in the United States, as we have a nice update covering the case brought forward by MCS Industries against both COSCO and the Mediterranean Shipping Company, if you remember. And if the complaint against the COSCO was settled at the beginning, MSC is holding tight, claiming, of course, no wrongdoing here. But as the deadline approaches, it seems that MSC will need to produce the discovery that it has been reportedly ordered to produce, and just recently it was denied the time extension requested previously, and that by September 22nd this year, MSC needs to either provide the required discovery or show cause why default judgment should not be entered against it. It involves also the ruling court in Switzerland here at the beginning of the document. It's going to be messy, if you ask me, for MSC. And of course, if you want to see the entire timeline of this ruling with, I don't know, the relevant documents coming from both parties, you will find the link in the description below. And now, guys, switching registers a little bit, I want to cover another interesting news. It's the last one, I promise, that I think is going to shape the European Union business landscape. And not only, it's coming from the EU Commission, as it is preparing the framework for banning products made with forced labor, basically, on the European Union market. It will prohibit products made with forced labor on the EU market. The proposal covers all products, namely those made in the European Union or, I don't know, imported into the European Union, without targeting any specific companies or industries or, I don't know, countries. But if the European Commission is not putting names, I think it has to do with what is happening right now in Xinjiang, China. But as we know, the European Union institutions are politically correct and they prefer not to call names. Anyways, another endeavor somehow trying to put some pressures on China and its practices. It's a welcome decision, if you ask me. And I am sure that other developed nations, of course, outside the European Union bloc, will follow suit on this framework. So, guys, with this last news being also covered, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit those small buttons below this video. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.